If there's one aspect about Chainsaw Man Part 2 that I'm really excited about, it would definitely be the villains. In Chainsaw Man Part 1, we got a really good antagonist role out of Makima, as she tried to turn Denji into her dog. And I'd say the most interesting aspect about her as an antagonist were the horror elements that she brought to the series, and this genuinely made her an intimidating villain. And now that the tables have turned, and Makima has been reincarnated into Nayuta and Denji has to protect her, this brings something huge into question. Who will the new villain or villains be in Chainsaw Man Part 2? And to this question, I have a lot to say for my answer. Now, every time a devil dies, they are reborn in hell. And when they are reborn in hell, they do not retain their same memories. That is why when Power is talking to Denji, she tells him that when she is reborn, they will probably be enemies when they meet again. So this does also mean that Denji would possibly be fighting Power in Part 2, until he'll eventually help her reattain her memories. So yes, we can expect a confrontation between Denji and Power. After all, Power said this herself. But what interests me even more is, what about the reincarnation of Aki? Considering he is now fused with the Gun Devil. Similar to how Power will no longer be Power when she's reincarnated, just like how Makima is no longer Makima but instead Nayuta because of her reincarnation, what exactly is going to happen with Aki's reincarnation now that he's a part of the Gun Devil? After wanting to get revenge for the death of his family at the hands of the Gun Devil, and now that you take into consideration that he's now one with the Gun Devil, I think it would be safe to assume that Aki would be very pissed and would want revenge for that as well. And how would he be able to do this? Because similar to the Angel Devil, Aki would still retain certain memories, or while he's living in the real world, he'll start to recollect some of the memories from his past life. And this would lead to him remembering his hatred for Makima, but not necessarily remembering Denji. And with Denji's new role when it comes to protecting Nayuta, I think he'll be constantly fighting Aki throughout Part 2. And through these fights with Aki, now as the Gun Devil, he'll try to remind Aki of his past life as Aki, similar to how he would have to remind Power of who she was. Oh my fuck, alright. See, I know that explaining things when it comes to memories and stuff gets very confusing, so I think the best way to put it is, okay, Amnesia Aki, this new Aki, and Amnesia Power, this new Power. They're going to be taking these antagonist roles in Chainsaw Man Part 2 because they won't remember Denji, and they may or may not remember certain things from their past lives. Hence, you know, Aki being consumed with revenge for the Gun Devil, and now because his whole entire past life was based on him getting revenge, I could definitely see that playing a part in this new Amnesia Aki. And he directs all of his rage and revenge for the Gun Devil towards Nayuta, and Denji is going to be fighting to protect her. So in Part 2, Denji is going to have to fight Aki and Power. But not only this, the worst case scenario of all. He has to fight both of them. But not only this, Nayuta starts to recollect her memories as Makima. So he'll have to fight all three of them. His own family that he had with Aki and Power. And now he'll have to fight his newfound family that he found in Nayuta. And this will plunge Denji further down into despair until he finally becomes Chainsaw Man. But this will only be the cherry on top, because I can only imagine all of the horrible things that Denji is going to go through in Part 2. I've mentioned this before in my previous video about how I think Aki is going to shoot up Denji's school, and I can only see what kind of effect that's going to have on him while we have this new school setting in Part 2, because Aki is going to tear Denji's world away from him. But not only this, the sheer thought of Nayuta turning on Denji is just absolutely heartbreaking.